So thank you so much for joining on this session, everyone. Despite the technical glitches, we're super excited to have Mr. Akinyele Akindui here for this interesting conversation on network operations and the NOC Center. For many of you, I'm really curious to understand what goes on in the NOC and how the operations are and what it even takes to thrive as a network engineer. So I'm not going to waste so much time doing some introductions. We all know what the NetClan here is all about, but just a reiteration of what the NetClan is all about. The NetClan has a mission and a vision of empowering and bridging the gap in network engineering concepts. And also, we have various initiatives that we use to bridge this gap. Popularly, one that's very common among the community, the LINE program. And just recently, we started our community. And yes, this is one of the initiatives that we also have, the webinars, to educate people and for them to get more insight into the work of network engineering. Mr. Akin, we're super happy to have you here. And yes, I'm not going to give you the icebreaker questions like I earlier planned. So I just want you to go straight into the presentation. So Mr. Akin, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm just gonna do a quick sanity check. I'm gonna share my screen. Kindly confirm that you can see my screen and you can hear me clearly.
Yeah, I can see your screen and I can hear you clearly.
Oh, great. Right. I'm gonna move this over. All right. Thank you so much for the invitation. And first off, I'd like to start by saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'd like to extend my sincere appreciation and thanks to the leadership of the NetClan community, from all of the organizers and the planning community, and to every single person who took their time to be here today and who has patiently waited so that we can get the show on the way. It is genuinely an honor to speak to you all, to a community that is actively empowering and bridging the gender gap within the technology and the networking professional. My name is Akinyele Akindoyin, and I currently work as a network operations engineer, supporting enterprise infrastructure across multiple locations for a multinational medical device manufacturing company. Today, I want to take you inside the world of Network Operations Center and hopefully show you that networking is much more than cables, router, command lines. It is continuity for business. It is reliability. It is problem solving under pressure. It is enabling, any industry that you can think of, medical, power, energy. It is enabling them to function every single day. But more importantly, I want this session to feel very practical and personal because not too long ago, I was exactly like, many people who may just be starting out. I was curious, ready to learn, unsure about, what the time is going to be, but willing to keep showing up and figuring things out. Now, before we talk about the Network Operations Center itself, I think it's important that we understand why networking matters in the scope of things. Why does networking matters? Why does network matters? One of the biggest mindset shifts that I want everyone to hopefully leave here today with is that networking is not just about technology. Networking is mostly about you enabling business so that business can function every single day and they're able to get to their organizational goals without any interruption. Think about any industry. Hospitals rely on network uptime. Manufacturing plants, they rely on low latency, redundancy. Financial institutions, can you imagine going to your ATM and it's not that the ATM does not have cash, but it's enabled to make all of the back-end network operations to verify that you even have the amount that you have typed into the ATM that you want to withdraw. Remote work today is a work, we're in the world of work from home, and we rely so much on internet connectivity, wireless connectivity, cloud applications. The world is going hybrid these days. So when network engineers, when we make routing decisions, when you make a design redundancy, when you optimize wireless coverage, you're not just configuring devices, you're supporting business goals. And that's the mindset that I really want to drive home today. The network is the underlay that keeps the entire organization alive. And this is one of the biggest mind shifts that separates someone studying only to pass certification from someone, an organization, trust to operate their enterprise infrastructure. The CLI matters. Your protocol matters, the certification matters, but can an organization trust you with their critical operations? That is where technical knowledge must evolve into business understanding. And speaking of growth, I want to briefly share how I personally entered this field because my journey was not perfectly planned at all. So, my journey into network operations. I want to briefly share that just like many people, sometimes, it's not like a very straight path. For me, it all started with curiosity. I was very curious. I initially started my interest started in web development. I built a couple of projects, all of the HTML, CSS, and all of the, web development frameworks, React, Next.js, and then, I started to get more curious about how does this system all come together? How does whatever I am typing in HTML, how does it all work together? Then I stumbled into cloud. Cloud was a big thing at the time, so I shifted my attention to that. And then I went deep into cloud, and eventually I earned I had about 3 certifications in cloud while I was still a college student. Then one fateful day, I received an email from one of a professor that's not from the same college that I was attending at the time, but it was the same college from the same district. And they were like, an event IT company was looking to train interns, and they were going to these interns were going to be helping them to deploy the network infrastructure that would support Adobe Max. Adobe Max is a yearly event that the Adobe company, I know a lot of us use Adobe Acrobat and all of the Adobe product suites. So that was the internship that literally changed my life, because that was the very first place where I ran my very first show run command. And honestly, at that moment, I probably still didn't fully understand how much of a small moment would completely change the direction of my life. About 2 months into starting my internship, I got my CCNA. Roughly a year later, I joined Applied Medical as a level 3 network administrator. 9 months later, I was recommended for a title review and transitioned into a tier 1 operations engineer role. Since then, I have earned my CCMP, and I've continued to grow through operations, troubleshooting, wireless project, SD-WAN initiative. Just think about it. What started as curiosity slowly became competence. Over time, competence created opportunity. And honestly, that's my journey in a nutshell. So if there's one thing I want people entering into tech to understand, it is this. You do not need to have the entire roadmap figured out before starting. Curiosity is often enough to open the first door. And now that you all know a little about my journey, now let's talk about the environment that has shaped most of my growth, the Network Operations Center. What is a Network Operations Center? It is essentially the operational heartbeat of an organization's infrastructure. I want to really emphasize the word heartbeat. Like, without your heart, we would not be. If your heart stopped beating today, I'm guessing that we would not be in this meeting. So that is the network operation center is where team monitor environment, they respond to outages, they investigate alerts, they escalate issue, they maintain uptime, ensure performance and availability. But something important to understand is the network operations center is not just about reacting. You're not just reacting. A strong operational team learns to think ahead of failure. If you work in network operations, you don't want to be on the side of reacting all the time when an outage happens. No, that's not where you want to be in the spectrum of things. You want to be on the side of people who think ahead of failure. But you're not just thinking, how do I fix outages? But you're thinking, how can I design this environment where outages becomes less likely to in the first place? So that's a complete mindset shift. A mature operations team, they think proactively. They're always thinking, they're always asking the question, how do we reduce outages? They're always thinking, how do we improve resiliency? They're always thinking about how do we eliminate single points of failure? Because believe you, this is mostly where some of the problems happen, and it causes most of the most of the chaos that happens in network operations center. When you have a particular infrastructure with a single point of failure, you are always praying to God. You're always praying to whatever you believe in that it doesn't go bad on a day that you're not feeling up for it. Some of the questions that you would also ask is, how do I align the infrastructure with business continuity goals? This is operational mindset. So what does this operational responsibility actually look like day to day? Let's talk about the core responsibilities of a network operations center team. When people think of networking, they think only about configuration. I can type show run. I can do show IP interface brief. I can do all of this. But operations is much broader. A network operations team is responsible. You're responsible. You're going to be responsible for monitoring, incident management, troubleshooting, change implementation, documentation, vendor coordination. You are responsible for service reliability. Like, the lights that keep the business running depends on you. And I'm not talking about the utility light. Talking about the light that runs their core and critical infrastructure. One thing I learned early is that technical knowledge alone is not enough. It is never enough that, oh, yes, I have all of this thing. I know how to, if they want me to configure a VLAN, I know what to do. No, it's not enough. It is not that it is not important. It is just not enough. Organizations trust engineers who understand business impact. They trust engineers that understand risk, communicate, and also understands the importance of stability. There's a major difference between someone who can pass a certification and someone the business trusts to run the enterprise underlay. That mindset shift, when that mindset shift happens, it changes everything. Because eventually people stop evaluating you only whether you can run commands. They start to evaluate your judgment. They start to evaluate how you communicate. They start to evaluate the ability for you to remain calm when the world is tumbling down. They start to evaluate your ability to align technical decisions with organizational goals. And one of the first things you learn in operations is this simple truth: monitoring and visibility. That is the backbone of network operations. In network operations, visibility is everything. Visibility is everything. You cannot troubleshoot what you cannot see. You cannot troubleshoot what you cannot see. Monitoring platforms helps us to identify a lot of things: packet loss, high utilization, device failures, wide area network instability, wireless issue, environmental failures. In many ways, monitoring is the eyes of the enterprise. Visibility allows operations team to become proactive instead of reactive. Sometimes the end users, they notice the issue before the monitoring system starts. And some other times, the monitoring system catches the issue before users are impacted. So this is the dynamics that goes on when you're managing a critical infrastructure in the network operation center. This is where the operational maturity starts becoming valuable. Take, for example, If a site begins to experience like an intermittent ISP failure, like as a good operations team, you should be able to identify this trend before it becomes a full-blown outage. It has to be maybe on your edge device, the particular interface that goes to your ISP equipment. You have set, the port utilization, the bandwidth utilization, and you've also set, your jitter, your monitoring jitter to, like, let's say Google or anything on the internet, and you're seeing, all of a sudden you're seeing like a spike in like the packet loss. That should start to that should trigger something in your mind as somebody who is in that operational mindset to want to mitigate that before it's too late. But even with gate monitoring, incidents still happen. Even when you have great monitoring, incidents are still bound to happen. And when they do, the process matter. Now, let's talk about the response workflow when an incident happens. One of the most valuable skills in network operations is structured troubleshooting. When incidents happen, your emotions can want to, might want to like take over, especially when there's like a major outage. And everyone, I want to tell you this, when you work in network operations, you are the baseline of everybody's problem. I have been in environments where people forget their password, and the response on the web, on the authentication interface that they're interacting with, is saying username and password incorrect, and they will raise a ticket that, oh, I am having network issues. And then you get to find out that, could you please just double check your credentials? And they double check your credentials, find out they have missed, particular letter, and boom. Once they correct that particular thing that they've been getting wrong, they gain access, and they're like, "Oh, okay, thank you. What did you do?" And so you have to rely on process. Typically, the flow is that you will get an alert is triggered, you have to validate, you start to you have to envision the scope of this alert. If you're able to isolate, then you escalate. Then if you are able to reach a resolution, then you have to document. For example, if a remote site suddenly loses connectivity, you have to check what is the ISP status? What is the tunnel health, especially if the tunnel back to like a offsite? What is the routing path? Is there a firewall session? Are you seeing any logs on the firewall? The key is to remain calm and methodical. Don't panic. In the enterprise environment, structured thinking protects both uptime and business confidence. So let's talk about what structured troubleshooting actually looks like. What are some troubleshooting methodologies that you can employ that you may already know about? One thing I always tell people, especially people in our team, is that troubleshooting is your real superpower, because technologies will continue changing throughout your career. But the ability to think logically under pressure will remain valuable. Structured troubleshooting skills across everything. You must learn to think in layers. That is how you think in a methodical way. You have to, physical layer. Is there any problem there? Data link layer, the network, the transport, the application. Is there any problem? Then you start to ask questions. You need to ask questions. What changed? Was there a radius blast? Is it isolated, or is this something that's systemic? Is this routing? Is it that the URL could not be resolved to an IP address? Is it a wireless? Is it authentication? Is it ISP related? These are questions that you have to ask. This is also where bridging business and technical understanding matters. Sometimes restoring patch service in quick time is more valuable than you trying to chase down what is the fix. I want to fix it. No, you have to be able to, work in hand with the business so that at least you can keep the business up and running. Now, once the organization trusts your troubleshooting ability, the next step is to learn how to safely operate production environments. Once you have all these in your bag, how do you safely operate in production environment? This is where planning changes without breaking things matters. One thing people don't realize about enterprise networking is most outages are caused during changes. When people implement a change, that is when a lot of things break. That's why change management matters so much. Before implementing changes, you have to think about the risk. You have to think about your rollback plans. You have to think about your testing. You have to think about maintenance windows. You have to think about, did you communicate with the stakeholders? Did you map out all your dependencies? These are things that need to come into perspective when you're planning a change so that you don't result in creating an outage. I have worked on wireless migrations, SD-WAN related initiative, where the planning was just as important as everything technical that I wanted to implement. Good engineers do not just know how to make changes, they know how to make changes safely. And this is another area where business awareness becomes critical. Every maintenance window affects real people. It affects real workflow. It affects real operations. And one of the ultimate goals of self-operation is building resilient environment, which takes us to how do you build reliability and redundancy? In enterprise networking, redundancy is not luxury, it is strategy. Because in networking, failure is not a matter of if, oh, if I do this, if I do this. It is a matter of when. When, if you meet great engineers, they will tell you. Great engineers, they design network that fail gracefully. Everything will fail. Like one of the biggest operational goals is eliminating single point of failure. For example, you might want to consider in your design bringing into ISP, dual ISP architecture, SD-WAN failover, redundant, controllers. Let's say you're managing wireless, you're managing the wireless coverage as well. You might want to think about making your controllers redundant. You might want to also make your firewalls to be in HA, since that is like the lifeline of your perimeter of your perimeter networking. Redundant power. You don't want to just have your edge device, which is critical, on one power supply. You want to make that redundant as well. You want to have diverse routing paths so that if something gets clogged up in a particular pipe, it can go over another one. The business does not care whether OSPF converge beautifully. They care that the factory stayed online, that users are productive, that operations continue uninterrupted. That is why engineers must learn to connect technical decisions to business outcome. How does whatever commands that I have written down to run, how does it help the business? And one area where reliability expectations have become extremely high is wireless networking. So let's talk about wireless and modern enterprise network. Wireless has become one of the most critical parts of enterprise networking today. Users expect seamless connectivity everywhere. In modern environments, wireless network supports voice, it supports collaborations, manufacturing, it supports medical device. In fact, right now I am reaching out on this webinar over a wireless connectivity, and that's why I came to the office, because I don't want to rely on the wireless connectivity that I have at home, so I don't I'll mess this up. But still, even though with all of that planning, it still took about 30 minutes for me to join the webinar. So wireless connectivity supports a vast majority of things in today's modern network. I have had opportunities to work on wireless controller migration. One of the major projects that I'm working on right now is that I am moving all of our North American region from the legacy 8540 wireless controller to the new 9800 Catalyst controller. And it's been a project, it's been one of my pet projects that I've been working on since last year. I'm hopefully hoping to round that off with the last two remote sites by next 2 weeks. Again, this reinforces something important. Technology projects are not just technical upgrades, they are business transformation initiatives. When users experience seamless connectivity, they rarely think about the engineering behind it. The only time people notice that there is a network team in an organization is when the network is when the network goes bad. But when everything there's smooth sailing, nobody remembers who you are or what you're doing. So operations team know how much planning, testing, and coordination goes into making that experience feel effortless. And that should be your aim. You don't want to make the stakeholders feel like, oh, you have climbed Mount Everest. You want to make them see it as, oh, it's very seamless, but you know all the work that has gone behind it. And as network continue to grow in complexity, automation has become increasingly important. Now let's talk about the big guy in the room, automation and AI in network operations. The future of operation is increasingly becoming automated. Today, engineers are expected to think beyond manual CLI work. Automation helps you with a lot of things. Consistency, it helps you with, speed, and it helps you with the acceleration at which you do things. It helps you with with the scale at which you're able to do things. It helps you with error reduction, because if you are able to make it from a single pane of glass, you are able to fix your error, as against you having to repeat that same process on multiple places. AI assisted operations are also becoming more common. Predictive analytics, event correlation, intelligent alerting, and automated remediation. Like if you see a lot of systems that are being improved, Catalyst Center, vManage, all of these things are being integrated with AI agents so that it helps you to troubleshoot at the speed of light, if that's possible. This is why I encourage people to don't limit yourself to just the traditional networking. You can just learn a little bit of scripting. You just need to know how the process, how the workflow is meant to happen. So that if you tell whatever AI you want to employ, oh, can you build me this script that does this and does that and does that? It's able to, help you to just peel it out without you having to do the heavy lifting. So engineers who combine network knowledge with automation skills have become extremely valuable. The future engineer is not just someone who configures devices manually. It is someone who understands systems, scalability, and operational efficiency. So, does all of these actually look like what does it all look like on a normal day to day, on a normal work day? So, I take you into a day in my life as a network center operations engineer. A typical day can vary significantly. No 2 days are ever the same. And usually, those are days you learn the most. Some days are chaos. They are the days that you learn the most. A normal day may involve, reviewing overnight incidents. Once you get to your work desk, you review, did anything happen overnight? Any monitoring dashboard that you have, you want to check everything to make sure that there are no notes that are down, investigating alert, joining vendor calls, performing maintenance, troubleshooting escalations, updating documentation. Operations teaches you adaptability very quickly. You have to adapt because a lot of experience, a lot of situations will bring you into different experience. And over time, you develop operational confidence. The ability to stay composed at every high impact situations is what builds the confidence. So with all this responsibility, what skills actually help people succeed in operations? What are the skills that you need? You need both technical and non-technical skills. You want to be sure that, I mean, you have under your belt, basic knowledge of routing and switching, TCP, IP, wireless, DNS, VPN, monitoring system. But more equally important is your communication skills, documentation, your teamwork ability, your prioritization, your curiosity, and your accountability. Those are skills that also come in handy, and not just the fact that, oh, you can do all the technical part. So organizations trust engineers who communicate clearly under pressure. In enterprise environments, communication is often just as valuable as your technical execution. So while operations can be incredibly rewarding, it definitely comes with challenges. Let's talk about some challenges in network operations. Alert fatigue, overnight maintenance, where you're getting calls, from EventBridge or whatever, major incident platform that you use. Pressure during outage because they want you to fix it and, bring us back online as soon as possible. Rapid technology evolution, constant learning. There's always learning curve that comes with you working in network operations. But operations also accelerate growth. With you working under pressure, you're exposed to like real enterprise environments. You're exposed to how to, manage business critical systems, cross-functional collaboration. You are able to harness all the help that are available to you. Architectural discussion. You are in meetings discussing how the business is able to still maintain and still be able to make all the millions that they have projected to, earn at certain quarters. You are also given leadership opportunities. Some of the fastest growing people I know, they come from operations because operations exposes you to reality very quickly. And the beautiful thing about networking is that operations can open doors into many different career paths. So let's talk about some of the career paths that you will find if you work in networking. You can start as an help desk, can work as a help desk, network operations, or administration, and then you can begin to grow into more engineering, security, cloud networking, wireless, architectural, automation, and leadership role. There is no single perfect entry path. The only thing that matters is consistency, curiosity, curiosity, exposure, and willingness to learn. Your first role does not define your ceiling. Many successful people started in roles that were never meant to be, permanent destinations, only learning platform. And before we wrap up, there is one final section that is deeply personal to me, and I would like to talk about it. And it is about the core mission of what the NetClient community is doing in the world. One of the reasons why it resonates with me is that uh, the trajectory of my career is because a woman, was involved. When I interviewed for the opportunity at Applied Medical, you know, there was a panel that was involved in the hiring decision. And from what I later learned, not everyone believed I should be given the opportunity. But in that boardroom, the actual hiring manager at the time, who was a woman, advocated for me and gave me the chance that ultimately became the biggest opportunity of my life. Without that opportunity, honestly, I genuinely do not know if I would be standing here and, today and speaking to you all. So when organizations invest in, closing the gender gap, especially in technology, representation, becomes more. And for everyone that's listening to today, not just the women, please understand that this industry absolutely has space for you, especially. Don't wait until you feel perfect before starting. Confidence grows through competence. Competence grows through repetitions. So, these are things that I just want to drive home. So for anyone wondering where to begin after today, let me simplify that for you. If you're looking to start today, start simple. Networking fundamentals, IP addressing, routing basic, all of that. Use all of the simulators that are available. Some of them have community version where you can use it for free. And most importantly, apply before you feel fully ready. Don't think, oh, yes, you have to get everything together before you feel like, yes, now I'm ready for this role. Because when you feel ready, then there is more requirements. So do not disqualify yourself before the industry has a chance to evaluate you. So as I begin to wrap up, here is the biggest ideas I hope to stay with you after this session. If there's anything to remember from today, it's this: network powers modern business. Operations team are mission critical. Troubleshooting is a superpower. Technical knowledge must connect to business value. Curiosity can completely change your life trajectory. And there is a space for more women, for everyone in networking. And not just space to participate, there's space to lead, to innovate, and to shape the future of infrastructure. The industry does not just need more engineers, it needs more perspective. It needs more builders and it needs more leaders. And with that, I thank you all for listening to me. Sincere apologies again for starting behind schedule. I am going to be on standby for questions to respond to them. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. This has been an amazing session. Like, you guys, like, a very big round of applause to our speaker for taking our time to speak to us, to pour into us, because I can tell you this is rare gem. Because for someone like me that works in the Security Operations Center, I've always been curious to know what happens in the NOC. And I have to admit, the NOC actually powers the SOC, because if there's an outage, I can remember if there's like an outage in power in the network, we're unable to do anything. Like, we're just there. Like, there's nothing we're monitoring. There's nothing we're not trying to look for any threat actor, because you can't connect to the internet. And this has been so enlightening. And I love your unique journey in starting out from Adobe to moving to where you are currently. And well done. And but you wrote your CCNA in 2 months. Like, I could see that you said when you started your internship, after 2 months, you wrote your CCNA. And that's amazing. So thank you so much, sir, for having this session with us. I am super happy. And I'm still going to ask that icebreaker question. So my question is, if you were not a network engineer, if you're not doing anything related to networking, what would you be doing?
What would I be doing? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be. Oh, dang. I love cooking. So I might actually own a restaurant. And so
It's a
yeah,
lie.
I
That's
would
so
actually
interesting.
just be a chef.
Nice. That's really good. So you like
Yeah.
both African dishes and international, or just like African only?
African dishes. The African dishes, yeah.
Anyways, that's cool. Okay, that's cool.
But
That's
I can
interesting.
also cook intercontinental dishes with a recipe.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it seems that network engineers are more inclined to like building something, creating something from scratch, because
Exactly.
that's what the process of cooking does. So
Oh,
yeah. Also, another question I'm really curious about is, if your life were to be like a book, let's summarize your life into your book. What chapter do you think you're in, and what's the title of that chapter? Like, will you be in chapter? What chapter do you think you're in, and what will be the title of that chapter? Yeah.
I'm figuring things out. The title of the chapter is going to be figuring things out. And,
I know, right? He has it figured out.
I mean, everything we're evolving every day, and processes change, and you're always in that limbo where you're always thinking, okay, all right, am I doing everything right? So you accept, you're a God. So you're always, trying to improve on your process. Just like we've said about all the technical things we've been saying, you're always improving on process. And so with life as well, you're always improving on, am I a better person than I was yesterday? So that's going to be my chapter.
Oh, interesting. So I think that's going to be like, will you think that that'll be a recurring chapter in your book, right? In your life book, because everybody's still trying to figure things out. So that's like a piece of advice to everyone. Don't think that you have everything figured out. Like, you won't have everything figured out. I just listened to something today, and it's just like, when you take the first step, you get clarity as you move along the way. So it's you taking that first step. So for those of you who are thinking, okay, how can I get into the NOC? What opportunities are out there for me? You can just start by taking a Cisco Net card course. That's like a first step.
And the thing is that everybody just feels that people that are professionals, top level professionals, they never did all these courses. Let me tell you, they did it. They did introduction to networking. They learned
For sure.
subnetting. So you don't just think that they just dropped the knowledge just dropped from the sky. This guy is so good. This guy no. So that's a very central piece of advice to anybody that's trying to break into the space of network engineering. There is a lot of opportunities out there. Just have to ensure that you position yourself as one that is ready to take on those opportunities, because you don't
Exactly.
want to you don't want to look like one that is not ready for those opportunities, because those opportunities will come knocking. You just have to ensure that you are prepared for those opportunities. Thank you so much for having us here on this call, because I've really gained a lot, and I look forward to watching this recording again, because I know that a lot of things are here that I need to take note of. Even if I work in the security operations, I've learned a lot of things that would help my role and help me to further move on in the career ladder. And yes, super excited to be here and to have you. Thank you so much. If we have further questions, yes, we'll definitely reach out to you. But yes, thank you so much for having us here. And yeah, thank you. We can call it a quit here.
Thank you so very much. Appreciate all the organizing and the planning committee and the entire community of the NET clan. I really appreciate your time. Thank you all for your patience with me. And
Yeah.
I hope that, I've been able to drive home very important points within this webinar today. And I wish you all the very best in all that you do. And we hope to see it again in the future. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. So that's the final word from our speakers. So if you're interested in getting to know more about the initiatives we do, kindly join our Slack community. And once the recording for this session is uploaded to our YouTube channel, we'll sure let you know across our social media platforms. Thank you so much for joining in today's webinar session. Thank you, and have a very great evening, afternoon, or okay, for our speaker, have a great morning ahead. Bye, guys.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Abby.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.